Hey guys, this is Albin with Albin Co. bringing in the 757 House Whisperer show. We are live here at the studio and we are warm right now. With all that stuff that he was talking about, cold weather, man, I just can't. At what temperature does the radio wave stop working? You know, with all that wind and everything, do you have any problems?
We have problems when they ice up. When we have ice and water on the towers, the ice on the towers can be a problem. But they're built with de-icers as well. But yeah, kind of like airplanes. When we get but the roads are bad beneath 27 degrees. That's when your typical puddle will freeze into ice on the roads.
Well, I stopped working a lot sooner than those type temperatures.
Oh yeah.
I was just talking to Justin today. I said I'm a wimp when it comes to the cold weather. You know, I'm living in my thermals right now, so it's like I probably won't get out of them until I don't know when.
Spring.
Yeah,
spring
exactly.
and fall.
So yeah, just living in them. So yeah, this is the 757 House Whisperer show. We are here to help you guys with any questions you might have about homes. Homes talk to us. They move, they creak, they leak, they fall down. They do all kinds of stuff that we try to help you with those issues. Maybe you got something in your house that you're dealing with. This cold weather is bringing it on, and you just are starting to realize that something is moving, or you got a breeze coming from somewhere you don't want to breeze. Your unit stopped working. Maybe you're looking for a more efficient way to deal with these cold winter months. And we have technologies out there that can help you with that. Whether you want to upgrade something, talk about upgrading, we can maybe help you with that. But to start it off, we'd like to maybe bring up a couple questions just to get you guys thinking about it before we introduce ourselves. One of the things that we were talking about, because we have Jake here with Gildersleeve, who is with Worley's, and we were just throwing this out here. One of the questions we came up with is, what is the deepest geothermal well that has been drilled in the 757 market? So Jake here was able to kind of give us a well-rounded number of about.
Well-rounded?
Yeah. Well, it isn't even. I mean, I doubt they have it down to the inches. So
I don't think he got that.
Anyways, give it a crack. See what you come up with. So, what is the deepest geothermal well drilled in this area? And then the next question is, what is? And this one, Justin came up with this one. I think it's fantastic. Is what is the minimum wind rating on architectural shingles? I guess this is coming off the shelf today.
Yes, that's in today's market.
Yeah. And then we also have one other question that might be a little bit more builder-related stuff. We talked about this in the past, but how do you determine the jam thickness of a door? How do you determine the jam thickness of a door? If you don't know what a jam is, you can call me up. We can talk about it a little bit, and we can try to get closer to that.
Now, is that a post-Thanksgiving dinner sort of like subjective question?
What, the jam thickness?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen plenty of relatives get jammed in a door, or trying to get through the door, especially after last week's Thanksgiving. So
I guess it could be related. I don't know. I mean,
just not related to Ozempic, I'll tell you.
So anyway, so my name is Albin. I'm with Albin Co. We specialize in home remodels. You may have a bathroom, kitchen that you want to either spruce up or redo completely. We handle that stuff, new construction, and we also do additions. I'd like to also introduce to you Michael Davenport. He's with CVP Custom Windows and Doors, and he specializes in windows and doors, and they are out of Newport News. They've been around since I want to say he started in 1999.
Local guys, though.
Yeah, local guys, and very good service. They provide a great product, and it's all custom built. Like if you wanted, I've been dealing with them since 2000. That's when I met them. And if you got a window where you want one window to be a 16th different than another window, he'll get it to those type of specifications, which is fantastic as a builder. You want to be able to. We go through and we'll measure all our rough openings, and if for some reason something got changed right there in the process, we can right on the fly just give them the final measurements that we need, and they'll just get it right to that.
So you're saying with Michael Davenport and CVP, you can actually make the window fit the house instead of making the house fit the window?
You really can.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Sweet.
You don't have to go in there and cut something that you might have put in just a tad off, So it's really good for us builders, and not to say we intend to get the opening exactly the way we want it, but we also are dealing with houses that are already have openings. We're pulling out old windows and we're trying to make something work in an opening that was been there for 30, 40 years. So
not having to scab in 3/4 boards or something to fill voids.
Yeah. So Jake, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, this is Jake Gildersleeve. Recently merged in with Worley's and Worley's Home Services. We specialize in HVAC, plumbing, electrical, crawl space encapsulations, attic ceiling, generators. We cover just about every aspect you can inside the home as far as service goes. So once we get in the door, we can just help you with all sorts of things. But I'm sitting in here for Chuck tonight and see if we can keep the ball rolling.
Well, I should have given a phone number out here. I'm sorry, guys. So if you are dying to call in and answer one of these questions, I'm guessing you need a number. It's 757-627-97 or 7979. That's 757-627-7979. Or you can also reach the 757 House Whisperer number at 757-955-9415. That's 955-9415. You can call or text either during the show or even after the show with your questions at that number. So go ahead, Justin.
Pick it up. So I'm Justin Murphy with Pyramid Roofing, Gutters, and Repairs. We're one of the last few remaining companies around that are even offering repairs. Our service area is basically from Richmond down to the North Carolina line. We do go out west just a little bit, Carsville area and what have you. If you always want open, honest, and just being transparent, just give us a call. We'll just tell you like it is. I'm going to introduce Cindy with Alpha Pest Solutions. She's the only woman around here with a license to kill. And then we got Jack Keller with Legacy Painting. So inside out, he'll paint what you got.
Yeah, he'll work on a little drywall repair.
Oh, does he
while
do?
He's there.
Okay,
yeah, just if
cool.
you got something that,
settling cracks or
stuff
like that.
That's right. So he helps with that too. So
very cool.
Yeah, so we had one other little thing in this question thing here that might help with getting some people to call. Jake, what is this card you got here that we wanted to try to give out?
Yeah, we've got some wine tastings for two that at Cooper's Hawk Restaurant out at Lynn Haven Mall. And if you want to go to a really nice restaurant with great wine tasting bar, good food, scratch kitchen, it's a great place to go out to eat. My wife and I go there all the time. So get it. Those calls rolling in.
What do they get for this? Like this gift card or whatever?
That's both two people go in for a wine tasting. You go up to that wine tasting bar and hand them that card, and you're going to get to taste quite a few samples.
All right, well, cool.
What's the difference between a wine tasting and a wine drinking?
Class. Class. That's right. And if you're drinking from a bottle or a box.
I was wondering where we were going.
Yeah, no boxes allowed.
Okay.
Cooper's Hawk's really nice.
That kind of counts me out.
Yeah, well, you and I both, and probably many people listening.
To get this card, these two, there's two of them, we are going to set up a little contest here. Mm-hmm. So those that call in, we're going to kind of, at the end of the show, determine who calls in with the best questions. So the top two questions, is that fair enough?
Fair enough.
The top two questions that we have call in today will get these one each, one of these cards.
Yeah. So that's cool. So there's people who have that burning question that they don't know the answer to. Call up. You might have a chance to get a wine tasting for two. Or just, even if you called up, you'll get a free coffee just for joining the show, right?
Yeah,
and that's
right.
a gift from Chuck Worley.
You'll get a coffee card if
Super.
you call in and you don't win this, you're guaranteed to get something.
You're drinking something.
That's right.
As Justin said.
Yeah. So, we were talking about this cold weather, and Justin, we were talking about the shingles and kind of what does that do for you for installation purposes for shingles when you're dealing with these really cold weather?
It is definitely rough. It shortens our days down a little bit because all the manufacturers basically ask that it's got to be above freezing to lay shingles, so hopefully the closer to 40 degrees, the better. So in the mornings when it is freezing, let's tear off, get everything prepped, get everything cleaned up. But then pretty much got to wait till the sun gets up over the roof and warms things back up to, put shingles on. You definitely don't want to put shingles, any kind of asphalt on for that fact, below freezing. It's asking for problems, particularly with all the nail guns and the compressor ratings, just to make sure that the nails don't blow through the shingles.
Oh, colder air, denser, more power with the guns?
That, and also, I don't want to say brittle, but the shingles, the shingles.
The trigger finger doesn't work below.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah.
No, that's
Speak
one
for
of the,
yourself. Speak for yourself, my friend.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, getting the guys out there.
It's a little hard to get them motivated
Yeah.
at those temperatures.
Well,
These last couple of days have been rough.
Well, see, and I've always thought that roofing in July, especially as a redhead, might be the worst job in the world. But is July worse than January?
No, I'll take there's
there's Carhartts and there's warm clothes, but there's a relentless July, too.
My fingers don't work all that great when it's freezing outside. I can always suck up some air conditioning in the truck, but when you're frozen to the core, there's not a whole lot you can do for it.
Do you guys put your guns in like a heater box? Because I tell you what, when I grab a hold of a cold tool outside, it's worse than having just cold hands that don't have anything in them.
Well, there's always that bet, just like the Christmas Vacation, see if we can get one of the guys to lick the gun and see if their tongue sticks to it.
That's a different show.
Hey, I think there's a
family show.
I think there's an invention here that's waiting to happen. You could get yourself a little bit of wire, wrap it around the handle, and put a DeWalt battery on it, and keep the hand trigger warm.
I'll give it a go. When it's cold, I'll give it a go.
Yeah, heated nail guns, that may be the new thing.
Yeah, man, that would be it.
It is rough.
And it doesn't help when you get that expel of the air and you have it pointing the wrong way. It's going to freeze your whole hand
freezing
off.
blast of compressed air. Yeah.
We'll invite y'all out. You know what they say about well diggers, right?
No, tell us.
Nothing colder than a well digger's arse.
Okay.
And we spent some mighty cold
Is it because
days
of all
outside.
that water you got to push down into the hole? And
Well,
tell us a little bit about the
everything's
process.
water. Everything is water. We're circulating water. We're washing. We're drilling with water. We got mud pits going on and pumps pumping and shovels moving and everything.
What does a day?
You stay wet.
What does
good
a
bit
day
of
as
the
a
time.
welder?
Really?
What does a day of a welder look like? Maybe just start us out and tell us a little bit about
There's a fair amount of just mobilization in the mornings, just getting all the sand in the pipe and the water loaded and drilling muds and everything that you're using to.
What's a drilling mud?
You have natural muds in the ground, clays that we mix up, and then you have drilling muds or additives that we put in the water to make it thicker, and then we also have additives to make it thinner. So we have.
Is there
go
a certain
both directions.
consistency you're looking for?
Yeah, if your mud gets too thick, you can't read what's coming back up the hole, and you can't stabilize the hole.
Does that have something to
if
do
it's
with
too thin.
hydraulic pressure or something like that? Or?
Yeah, we've got water pressure pushing in on the borehole, and so we're stabilizing it with the weight of the mud. And then if you let your mud get too thin, the hole can collapse. So it's a balancing act between too thin, too thick, right volume, right flow, too much pressure, not enough pressure. There's a lot of aspects to watching the borehole when you're going down. So, but yeah, we got mobilization. We got to get all that equipment on site. Then we got to get all unloaded. Then you've got to get set up. And once you get started drilling, the drilling process can be relatively fast. We can drill 220-foot loops in 90 minutes. We can drill down 220 feet in 90 minutes. Trip back out of the hole and have a loop set in usually like 2.5 hours.
Wow. How many loop sets you typically have to have? Is that? I
Well,
guess that's
you're
dependent
trying
on
to
the
do.
house
You're trying to
size,
do
right?
2 to 3 loops a day, and an average job's 4 to 5 loops.
Okay. All right.
So,
well,
it's a process, but we're doing water wells too, and some of the water wells, they're usually not as deep, but we've also got a whole different process. Putting well screen, filter sands, different things like that in. So, yeah, our days are wet. So, when you're talking, we say it's too cold when you lay a wet glove on the side of the rig and your glove comes off and stays on the side of the machine and your hand comes out of it. So,
no.
It's cold. I've drilled
cold is bad, but being wet and cold,
that's
that
the
is
worst.
really bad.
Drilling down below 20 degrees is really difficult. You got to be right on your P's and Q's. You don't really want to be there. I usually try and cut it off when it's about 35 or so outside. Older I get, the less I want to. I'm looking for those 95-degree days, like he said. My bones get real stiff when it starts getting to be around that freezing mark.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So, just those that have maybe just tuning in, we got some questions here for you. Maybe just to get the ball rolling on some callers. But what is the deepest geothermal well drilled in the 757 area? And I guess there's a minimum too. What's the smallest one you've done? I mean, that's not going to give it away, would it? If we kind of mention like the smallest geothermal loop.
Now, geothermal loops themselves, the average around Hampton Roads is about 200 feet.
Okay.
Just in this area. As you go further west, they get deeper. So I'm talking mainly, when we're asking for depth, we're talking about this area. I'm not as familiar once we get, past Williamsburg.
Yeah.
But
Damon was actually asking some good questions before we got on the air, and he was talking about like bedrock and stuff like that. I thought that was fascinating. I'm sure some of the listeners would like to hear. How far do you got to go to get to bedrock in this area?
It's got to be excessive, probably 3,000 feet.
That's crazy. Good Lord.
I know they've drilled over 2,000 feet on the eastern shore and at Little Creek, and hadn't hit bedrock on any of that. So
I was thinking, have you hit anything really weird, in the earth,
UFOs and
who knows, you. Something metal. I mean, you're something totally took your drill bit or something.
The most odd things we hit are just interesting shark's teeth shells.
Really,
really nice
cool.
shells.
Did they come back up with the rig?
We bring it back out of the ground with high pressure water. And so it's like the other day we did find a shark's tooth. It was probably about an inch by an inch. Shark's tooth that came up.
We got problems.
How deep was it?
That was drilling in Hampton. We were down about 210, 215.
Wow, just think about that in perspective. 215 feet into the ground in Hampton at one point was the bottom of the ocean where a shark lost a tooth.
I have to say this too.
What?
You opened up a can of worms. You're going to get a bunch of shark tooth people that like to hunt for them. They're all going to call you and say, "Where's your next well drilling?" So they can sit there and see what's going on. My wife included.
Well, that one was in Hampton, and we don't normally find much around.
Isn't that crazy?
It's funny, in Virginia Beach, you don't find much for shark's teeth. But
were you able to identify it? Because
all we know is a shark's tooth. That's
yeah. I mean, there's my wife's got it down. She knows which shark it is and the color and all that stuff.
I hunted with a guy in a hunt club out in Surrey, and the guy's good at finding stuff there in the creeks, and he's found more than one megalodon tooth.
Yeah.
And I showed it to him. He was like, "Check this out." Yeah, I found
a client with
a bunch of them.
He's got a whole case full of megalodon teeth bigger than my hand.
Yeah, they're just insane. Hey guys,
crazy.
We got a caller.
Found on his property.
Mike from Newport News has a question. Something about the 3 tabs and versus architecturals. Hey, Mike.
I was looking for a roof, and I spoke to a roofer, and he mentioned 3-tab shingle, and I said I thought architectural was the way to go. So I was curious what your opinion was of that.
So, I'm actually surprised anybody's even offering 3 tabs anymore. Those are getting phased out of the industry. Pretty much everything is architectural these days. I truthfully can't tell you the last time I've even put on a 3-tab roof. Now, we do repairs with 3 tabs, but not entire roofs anymore.
I'll tell you this. I got a shed that I think I bought from Lowe's or Home Depot. And the roofs of those are that single ply 3-tab like you're talking about, right?
Roll roof.
Oh, not even that good. It was just the flat, the cheapest of cheap. Yeah.
No, honestly, these days, even if you go to the suppliers, do you mind asking if I ask how big your house is? Just rough ballpark?
3,400 square feet.
That's a good size house. No, please don't put a 3-tab on that. I don't even think he'll be able to get enough 3-tabs to do that roof, especially not with a quality shingle. And the cost difference between a 3-tab versus an architectural, it's negligible at best. But what you get is night and day.
Yeah, resale value,
Architectural.
Go architectural.
Yeah.
If you plan to live there forever, go architectural. It's like you're taking a step down when you go to the 3-tab.
Oh, yeah,
I don't even think that one of the questions we have here is what's the minimum wind rating of architectural shingles, and I doubt 3-tab is there.
No, I'll tell you the 3-tab. Those are 80 mile an hour max. A lot of insurance companies are sending out basically not renewal notices because people do have 3-tab shingles on their roof. If I was you, don't do it.
And let me tell you, this non-renewal thing is a real
It's a
thing.
It is a thing.
And
I see probably, I would say, 5 to 7 people, I don't know, every 2 weeks, probably one every other day, talking about the insurance company saying, oh, I got a cancellation notice. And I think a lot of them are just looking, the insurance companies that is, are just looking at the Google Maps pictures because you can actually backdate those. And if they don't see any, like a new roof come on within the last 10 or 12 years, a lot of companies are sending out non-renewable notices.
Yeah, and those insurance companies are like, hey, this is really working. So that I'm sure the call volume going out to these people is going up because they're reducing their liability. It's one less thing they have to deal with.
No, yeah, because like the 3-tabs, that's another thing I just want to say. The 3-tabs are prone to missing shingles. Over the life course of a roof, the tar strips do start to deteriorate a little bit, and then you'll get missing tabs on a 3-tab shingle. I have seen architectural shingles blow off, but it's very, very rare.
There's a substantial difference between
it's a huge difference. There's a huge difference.
Mike, did we answer your question?
Hey, David, how can I tell? My roof's been on for about 29 years, as old as my
You
son.
got a tremendous amount of life out of those shingles.
Yes.
And I don't have any trees above the roof line. How do you know if you need a new roof? I mean, I know it's probably time, but how do you know?
Well, you know what, Mike? That is the greatest question we've heard here all hour, and I've got to hold you off until the next break because we're going to get run over by news in just a couple of seconds. So hang on. We'll be right back here on News Talk 790 WNIS.
This is the 757 House Whisperer Show. We are here to answer your questions. We are wanting to find out if your house is speaking to you. Houses speak to us, and we wanted to see if we could help you out. And as we help you out, we actually are helping many other people out. So call in today with your questions because it's not just you probably having that question. There's plenty of other people that want answers to your question also, and we'd like to help them too. So the number to reach is 757-627-7979. That's 757-627-7979, or you can actually go to the 757 House Whispers number, which is 757-955-9415. You can text there, call there. You can do it during or after the show. We want to hear your questions. And so before we get started, we want to introduce ourselves. My name is Albin with Albin Co. We specialize in remodels. That's kitchens, baths, additions. We'll also do new home construction. And would like to also introduce to you Michael Davenport with CVP Windows and Doors. He specializes in exterior doors and windows. They'll do double hung casements. They probably got all kinds of other ones. They'll do a single hung if you want. And they also, all their grids in the windows are all custom. Amazing manufacturers. They do a great job. They're local in the area, and they're in Newport News. Got a huge manufacturing facility. They're great people there. So, Jake?
Yeah, this is Jake Gildersleeve with Worley's Home Services. We just offering just complete set of services for HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and well drilling, geothermal,
Crawl space
encapsulation,
spray foam. It's just a long list, isn't it?
It is. I know. I have to stop and think about it every time. But
yeah.
And just the booklet that I bring with me when I go to someone's home is about a half inch thick.
Yeah, they're knocking it out of the park in so many different places, different areas. So
really talented folks that will come out and just take care of all the needs you have in the home. And if we can't take care of it, we've got this group of guys right here that can add to it and find somebody that we can get in there to take care of that problem.
Very cool. I'm Justin with Pyramid Roofing, Gutters, and Repairs. Just your local experts. If you have questions, comments, concerns, you want a clear line of transparency, give us a call. I'm going to introduce Cindy with Alpha Pest Solutions. She's the one that will get in those crawl spaces and find those bugs or anything that you got down there. I know I'm not going to do it, but she'll definitely get that taken care of. And then we got Jack with Legacy Painting, interior, exterior, and drywall repair, like settling cracks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He'll get it all taken care of.
Yes, he will. So we actually have a caller on the line, and let's go to Ken in Virginia Beach. Hey, Ken.
Hey, Ken. How you going? You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Ken. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
Good deal. So you got a question about structural movement in a floor and walls and need a inspection.
Well, I don't know if I need an inspection. I had a structural engineer come out one time, and he kind of generally told me what might need to be done, but he didn't pull up any flooring and he didn't or look behind the vinyl wallpaper. So I have a lot of movement. It's a house on piers at the beach, and so I'm sure that contributes to it. But the floor panels, the various ones will stick up half an inch or more underneath the carpet. The drywall, which is on structural load-bearing wall, it kind of pops out half an inch and then it goes back in, and it seems like it's just temperature dependent throughout the year.
Well, most of the time on those type things, how old is the house before we get into this?
83, I think.
83. Are you on the beach, or you say you're near the beach? Or tell me a little.
Rows, a couple rows back from the beach. So,
all
but
right.
it's in sync.
So a couple more questions. Do you see that any type of trends, like say, for instance, if you get a large rain, do you see more movement, or is there? I mean, is it? You said it was weather dependent. So my guess is, and you said the house is up on piers.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So most likely what you're probably seeing is some type of shrink swell situation where as that ground absorbs water, most people think, well, ground is ground. It's not going to change in volume or anything like that. But as the ground takes on water, the actual soil gets bigger, and it causes a heaving of the soil, and it'll push up on those piers. So, and it may not push up equally if the piers are, for say, one pier actually was maybe done correctly and one pier wasn't done correctly. Maybe the piers are connected together in one area, kind of making a beam in that area. So it's maybe going to be more stable than a isolated pier that might see more heaving from the soil around it. And then, of course, if the soil takes on water, it's going to heave, but at the same time, if that water freezes, you're going to see even more heaving. So things move quite a bit if the foundation is not correct to begin with. So that's, when you start talking about things like doorways starting to get out of square, you can't close the door today, but you can close it in the summer, or some other, maybe it's opposite for you. But you've got a moisture issue probably in the crawl space also when you start talking about your floor buckling. Is that a nail down floor? Is it hardwood floor?
It's carpet covered plywood, and it's only on the second floor. I'm sorry, I should have told you.
Oh.
It's only on the second floor. This floor has no problem at all.
So you have, interesting. So you've got actual plywood, because you said the carpet covered floor is buckling.
Yeah, you can feel it as you walk down the hallway. You can feel the edge of the plywood coming up in different places at different times of year.
All right, and so was that a one-story that was converted to a two-story, or is that a true two-story house?
No, it's a true two-story. It's always been two-story.
Yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be looked at, and you're saying the engineer didn't provide any type of solution for it?
He did provide a general solution. He said, pull down the drywall, put up some structural sheathing, and put the drywall back up. And then on the flooring, he said you could put hardwood in
But if you put it longitudinally, it won't do anything. You got to put it laterally or diagonally. And maybe that's the solution. I don't know. I'm looking for a second opinion.
Well, as far as the plywood goes, if the plywood's lifting, there's a good chance. I mean, things sometimes just don't get nailed off properly.
I've seen
So anytime we rework a floor, we're doing a large demo project, I'm on my guys nonstop and say, you hear a squeak, put a screw in it. This area here, let's re-screw everything, because I don't want to put down a floor and then have my customer come back and say, there's this one squeak right here in the middle of the floor. So most likely, either you have a nail that's just not doing its job in there, or it's just not nailed off enough, because there are standards for how often you have to nail off the edge of a board, and we call it nailing it off at the edges and nailing it off in the field. So you have fewer nails in the field of the board as you do along the edges. My suggestion is probably the cheapest thing is if you haven't had your carpet replaced in a long time, you don't even need to replace it. You can get a carpet guy in there, pull the carpet back, and re-nail off the entire, re-nail or re-screw that entire, I would say screw it down, maybe more often than what is recommended. That would probably fix that. As far as the walls, I think the engineer was onto something. If you got a lot of wind and the walls weren't braced properly, back in the 80s, you're going to have a lot of that blackboard on the outside of houses. You're going to get a lot of wall movement. The outside of the house needs to be rigid. That's why you don't see any of that blackboard on most. I mean, I don't use it in construction. Whenever I'm building houses, we are using OSB, or we're using the zip sheathing. We are nailing that stuff off, and you get a nice rigid outside of your house. Your structure is going to be rigid, and you don't want that moving. And most likely what you're seeing is you're seeing some movement in those walls because of that. And so he's right. You probably do have to take that drywall off, put some X bracing on there, or some type of structural sheathing, and put some drywall back up on there. That would be your best bet on there. Or if you have a vinyl siding house, and you're seeing a little bit of age on a 1980s house, you could, if you're going to have somebody come in there and apply new siding on the outside, that'd be a great time to pull that blackboard off and put some real sheathing on.
Now, Albin, just so everybody's clear, that blackboard, that's just a high density fiberboard. It has there's no structural integrity to that stuff. It is just, I mean, you could push your finger through that stuff.
Yeah. So you're changing that out for half-inch plywood or half-inch OSB is going to make a world of difference on the outside of the house.
All the wall studs and everything actually together.
Mm-hmm. And it probably we would it's going to increase the life of the house
for sure.
I don't know if that helps, Ken, but that's what we got for you tonight. And if you'd like, I can make a call to you and we can talk about this further offline. But we do appreciate your call. And that was a really good question, and it's going in the hat for one of the top 2 questions for tonight's show. So we going to want some more callers coming in. So if you can, call at 757-627-7979. That's 757-627-7979. And so back to this whole blackboard stuff as we're talking about it. What do you guys, what is I don't even remember. When did they stop using that stuff? Any of you guys remember?
I mean, it was before my time. I mean, I still see it every day, but it's not.
I have probably seen that since maybe the 80s.
Yeah. Well, it was an 80s house, so.
When I was in high school, so we're talking, I'm going to say the year 2000. Year of 2000, we had a carport closed in, so that we turned it into like a pool table, billiards type room. That's what fancy people call it. But we didn't call it that. But we had that put in, and that's the first time and the only time I've ever seen that black. Like what you're saying, it's almost like a thick cardboard that's like a fiberboard, and if it ever gets wet, you can tell right away. Oh, it's going to fall apart like a wet rag.
But do you remember where the plywood was?
The blackboard was in between the sheets of plywood, so it would be like plywood on the outer corners, yes, and then the blackboard in between, like a filler. Like they're just cheaply.
It was a cheaper option.
Yeah. So basically, they were taking out some of these what we call let-ins, or maybe they did have a plywood, and then they went to the blackboard, and they're like, well, we have to keep something at the corners because we don't want the structure to fall down. So there was this kind of going the wrong direction of, hey, we can improve this house and we can actually save money. And now they're like, yeah, that's not a good place to save money. So we kind of went back the other direction.
That's a good way to put it. That's not a good place to save money.
Yeah.
And taking back, before we went on to the break.
Let's talk about Mike's
we had Mike on the line. It was a caller with a great roof question.
So his question was, how do you know when you need a new roof? And, going back to what Mike, if people weren't listening, he said his house, he probably, what did he say, 29 years? He got 29 years out of a 3-tab shingle roof. And we just were all kind of like, wow, you really got the life out of that thing. So before we go on to that, and we just make sure people get these questions. We're going to answer these at the end of the show. We don't have much more time, so we want to try to get the calls in here. What is the deepest geothermal well drilled in this area? What is the minimum wind rating, not the maximum, but what is the minimum wind rating of architectural shingles? And then how do you determine, this is the third question, how do you determine the jam thickness of a door? So we'll leave it to that. See if any of you guys will call in. Don't forget that we actually have some gift cards here for the best calls that we get tonight. The 2 best calls are going to get a wine tasting for 2. What's the name of the company again?
Yeah, that's Cooper Salk Restaurant at Lynnhaven Mall.
So call in right now. So back to what Mike was saying on this this question he had. How do you determine, when you've reached the maximum life of a shingled roof? I have some ideas, but Justin, go ahead.
So there is no fail safe per se. What you're looking for is conformity. Any humps, any dips, anything out of that's not regular. Staining doesn't mean a whole lot. 29 years on a 3-tab, though, is astronomical. Those were either rated for 20 or 25 years max, so you've gotten every bit of life out of that one. The best thing is to have a qualified contractor, somebody that knows roofing, come out, take a look at it, be open and honest with you, especially with saying the age on those. Those were actually back in the organic shingle days, so there's really no telling. But if you did get 29 years out of a 3-tab roof, whoever put it on, they didn't cut corners. They knew what they were doing, but it is definitely past due.
Do you know what the bleeding edge answer to that question is?
Talk to me.
If you don't get it changed, you're going to have no insurance on your house because the insurance company is going to call you and cancel your insurance. So
they are doing that.
That is the life of your roof. When your insurance company calls you and says we're dropping you because your roof's too old, you need to change your roof, or you need to
contact somebody.
You maybe want to find. Yeah, you're right. So. One of the things that I was thinking about is sometimes you see these. Mike brought it up. He said he didn't have any overlying trees on his roof or anything like that. But for those out there that like their trees and don't want to cut them down and they're shaded in the wrong time of the day and that moisture just never leaves the roof and your mold start growing on it, the shingles start rolling up on the edges. You're not taking care of your roof. Your roof is going to be short-lived, and you really need to think about those type conditions and taking care of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I will say, obviously I'm preferable to the shingle aspect of and the roofing portion of construction trades, but you definitely want to keep up on the roof, even if it's not actually doing any work. Get some inspections on it. Keep an eye on it. They are not maintenance free. And you really don't want to wait until you see a yellow stain inside your house.
Yeah, and then
that's when something has already gone bad.
And as Mike was calling in, 29 years on the shingle, I'm sure all his roof pipe penetrations and all that have been changed out. And if not, they definitely need to be changed out unless they're those lead type style things.
Back then on a 3-tab, they didn't have the lead. Nobody was really using the leads. So get somebody to look at it. Qualified individual, somebody that you can trust, somebody that's been around in the industry for a while. give us a holler.
So we had a caller call in that couldn't stay on the line. He's from Gates County, is Jimmy. And he had a question about looking to replace his water heater, and he was likely wanting to use some type of propane model, and needed an opinion on the best value for that type of water heater. There could be a bunch of ways that could go. I mean, some people prefer the water tanks. I really like the tankless.
I went tankless, and I'll never look back.
Yeah, so when if you're by yourself and you don't have anybody else living in the house, a small water tank might really go a long way for somebody like that. But as our kids were growing up, we just loved the fact that kids could take showers or baths simultaneously, and we could be in the shower and whatever's going on, like I could be getting up in the morning, my kid could be in their bathroom taking showers. We didn't have to worry about that. Sometimes it's like those type things can really rub you wrong if you like all of a sudden you're like 40 gallons is gone and like zero, your cold shower just ruins your whole day. So, but Jimmy, we can get back to you on an answer to that. There's a lot of variables on that, but we really appreciate the callers that called in today. We're wrapping up the show here, so we want to try to get some of these answers to these questions. On the deepest well, we're looking at 450 feet for the geothermal. And for the minimum wind speed, Justin, what is that?
130 miles an hour.
130 mile an hour. That's the minimum wind speed you can get on your shingles nowadays.
Architectural shingles.
It was only 80 on the 3-tab. And then the last one we had was, how do you determine the jam thickness? That's the actual drywall to drywall dimension, or tile to drywall, whatever it is that you're dealing with, from one side of the wall to the other. And we just take the actual framing plus the drywall plus the tile or whatever and come up with a jam thickness for that door. And that's a number you're going to want to have for your door manufacturer. But we appreciate you guys calling in today, and we will get you guys, for those that did call in, we'll get you a gift card. Thanks again. 757 House Whisperer. You guys have a good night. Stay warm.
Yeah. And every Wednesday, same time, same place.
Same time, same place, 6 to 7.
Awesome.
We look forward to seeing you guys
again. For more
again.
information, that phone number 955-9415 to get in touch with 757 House Whisperer or 757 House Whisperer.
Call or text.
.com. That's right. See y'all next week. Thanks, guys.
Cool. Thank you.
Sponsored and paid for by Worley Home Services, who's entirely responsible for its content.